Welcome back to this edition of Flashpoint. Let's say hello on this Sunday morning to two of our favorite auto analysts. First, Stephanie Brindley is a senior auto analyst with IHS Markit, and Sam Abel-Samad is with Guidehouse Insights. Let's start with electric vehicles. I was at the unveiling for the Ford Lightning a little while ago, the F-150. And I was blown away by this. You guys probably see these events all the time, and it maybe becomes, second nature. But I just felt like if you can't fall in love with that, you're heartless. But President Biden wants to see half of new cars sold by 2030 to be like the Lightning, electric. Stephanie, how possible is that for us to do?
Oh, there's still a lot of things to be resolved. And actually, to be clear, it's electric, but it's also plug-in hybrids are included in that 50%. And a plug-in hybrid would have a gas engine that also supports the vehicle as well. But we have a lot of infrastructure things to resolve. We don't have a robust charging network to support people as they move about with these vehicles. A lot of the charging will be done at home, but you're not always at home. And we still have consumer confidence and consumer sentiment to get involved. There's definitely interest in electric vehicles, but there's still a lot of uncertainty about it too. And there's a lot of consumer education that needs to happen so that they understand why it's different.
Sam, let me bring you in. Stephanie touched on it a little bit. Some of the would allocate $7.5 billion for EV charging stations around the country. That's, of course, if it makes it into the final bill. Is that aggressive enough of a goal to make his other goal possible?
I think it's definitely a start. Whether it's aggressive enough is unclear at this point. I think part of the problem is so far there hasn't been enough EVs out there for any of the EV charging network providers, companies like EVgo, ChargePoint, Electrify America, to actually be profitable. They don't get enough use of their chargers, and obviously that will change as the number of EVs out there grows. And as that happens, they will also continue to invest more in expanding their networks. So I think it's a good start, and it'll hopefully help jumpstart the build out of the charging networks, because that's going to be essential. As Stephanie said, right now a lot of EV owners do charge at home, but going forward, as you expand beyond those early adopters who are the people that are buying EVs now, and get to more mainstream audience, people that most consumers today don't buy new cars, they buy used cars. And as you start to expand into that group, now you're talking about a lot more people who don't have access to off-street parking at home, and they will be relying on public charging. So we do need to dramatically ramp up the public charging infrastructure to enable the rest of the the driving public to be able to use EVs.
Yeah, if the president can't get that $7.5 billion, could you see him pushing this target date back, Sam?
Probably not. I don't think that they want to do that. I think they're going to try and stick with that, and maybe find some other way to help jumpstart the expansion of the charging networks.
Yeah. Stephanie, the chip shortage, we're still dealing with that. I know it's coming back. It feels like we're on the back end of that a little bit. What sort of effects are you still seeing that automakers are going through with this?
We should be on the back end of that, although third quarter is probably as bad as first quarter. And it's really going to be into 2022 before production normalizes. So right now we just really tight inventories, and we're going to continue to balance with that. And another element of the chip shortage too is that there are continual things interrupting. I mean, for example, Malaysia has locked down, and there's a lot of processing that happens there. And when those manufacturing processes go offline unexpectedly, they still have to scramble a little bit more. And I think one of the problems is a lack of visibility into the full scope of the situation, compounded by unpredictable continued interruptions.
Yeah. I wanted to get your guys' reactions to the Motor City car crawl, by the way, last week in downtown Detroit. It drew some surprising numbers of people, and I think it ended up much bigger than most originally thought it was going to be.
I will say that, consumers and people are looking to be outside. We haven't had an auto show in Detroit for a long time. We're an area that loves auto shows and that loves cars. So I would expect some good turnout and some happiness and joy to be able to be doing something outside again.
Sam, could this actually coexist with the North American International Auto Show, or dare I say even change how that works? The outdoor aspect of it in an era where we're dealing with a pandemic seemed to kind of be a home run.
Yeah, well, that was actually part of what was planned for the 2020 show, which obviously never happened, was to have a lot more things going on outdoors outside of the convention center, on the streets in Hart Plaza and other areas around downtown. So some aspects of what they did for the car crawl were supposed to happen and probably will continue to happen. You know, they wanted to have more interaction, more interactivity for attendees, the opportunity to do potentially some ride and drive programs, some demos of various technologies. So I think we will see, you know, if and when the auto show does return, I think we will see them trying to do some of these sorts of things like what they did with the car crawl as an ongoing part of the program.
Yeah, and obviously not having charity preview was a setback for a couple of years. It'd be nice to get back to some of that normalcy. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Yeah, you know, to throw in there too, I mentioned that one of the issues with electrification, some of those outside and touch points, builds a platform for being able to educate consumers on what electric vehicles really mean over time. So these events can become more important as cars get more complicated. You've got another platform and a way to educate, which is a pretty neutral space. So I think they can evolve into something pretty important for the industry.
Yeah, you can never go wrong when people can get up close with one of the fancy new vehicles or vehicles of the future, that's for sure. Guys, thanks so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it. We'll be right back to wrap up this edition of Flashpoint in a moment.